Hi, I'm Gail.
And hi, I'm Catherine. Welcome to Women Over 70, Aging Reimagined, our award-winning weekly podcast. Visit womenover70.com to learn about all of our offerings and ways to become involved.
We're very happy to have with us today Jan Shaw King, who is 77 and is a well-known award-winning American professional impressionist and author. She's an illustrator, devoted wife, proud mother of 3 children and 4 grandchildren. She's a cable ACE award-winning TV host, producer, writer, director, studio and network liaison, and IP specialist who has been at the forefront of many technology breakthroughs. Over the last 35 years, she has led many of the industry's innovations and trends. As CEO, co-founder, writer, director, and executive producer of Wyld Blue Entertainment, Jan continues to consult on projects for major studios, networks, theme parks, such as Disney, Universal, and SeaWorld, resorts, and museums worldwide. Under her publishing house, Wyld Blue Digital Press, Jan wrote and illustrated How the Big Bad Wolf Saved Christmas with her husband, Jim King, including narrating the audiobook and other children's stories. 27 years ago, Jan survived an extremely aggressive uterine and ovarian cancer, which only about 3% of women pull through. Writing poetry, inspirational verses, and painting became a defense to the trauma she had endured from treatment. Prior to having cancer, Jan took an adventurous 2-week wilderness trip with a friend outside of Fairbanks, Alaska, by canoeing 75 miles down the Chattanooga River and fishing from a remote cabin in the Mento Flats. She camped along the river across from beaver dams, saw bald eagles and moose up close. This challenging trip gave her strength and courage to face her cancer surgeries and extreme radiation the following year. As part of her recovery, Jan spent a weekend with Healing Odyssey Women's Retreat to relearn new life skills. Fast forward 27 years later, after a diverse field of creative consulting, design, writing, and producing themed entertainment projects, Jan has devoted her passion toward writing and illustrating children's books and painting beautiful impressionistic art that supports sea turtle and wildlife rescues, rehabilitation, habitat, and natural environments. After years of coaxing by others, she published her book, Lifelines, Inspirational Verses for Reflection and Recovery, filled with her original poems and watercolor paintings, and made it available to the general public. It's been extremely well received and has helped many to deal with their life challenges. So, Jan, welcome to Women Over 70, Aging Reimagined. We're so glad to have you here. You're an amazing personality. The work that you've accomplished, overcoming your illness, we're really thrilled to have you. And thank you for being on Women Over 70.
Thank you. You're very, very kind for that intro. It was a long intro, but it's been a good life. So I do appreciate being here, literally being here, and joining. When I looked at the website, I saw the amazing podcasts from other women over 70 who all have had such amazing lives, and I'm just very happy to be thrilled to be included in your dance. So thank you.
You're very welcome. So where to start is the question, right? And, but so I think one of the things we should try to understand about you is which came first, technology, innovation, or art?
I think that's a no-brainer because art is always who I've been. Since I was a little girl, Mom and Dad gave me a chalkboard easel with Mickey Mouse on it. And I used to trace that hours on it and try and draw coloring. I spent summers with my grandparents up in Cape Cod, about 2 weeks every year since I was little. My grandmother was a fine artist. She did, her art was oils, and she did amazing seascapes, landscapes, and taught me really the basics that I still use today. Things such as when I would sit there on the banking overlooking the lake with grandma, we'd be sitting side by side, and she would ask me, "What do you see?" And then, of course, I tell her I see a lake, and so, well, what colors are they? She taught me how to see color, how to see shadows, how to, by using chalk or different kinds of media, I could be able to blend them and learned how to see, and realized that over the years that there aren't very many people who, I always thought being me, everybody could see the way I see, but that's not the case.
Right. Yeah. Is that painting behind you one of yours?
Yes, it is. This is called, so I'll move it up here like that to show you. It's quite large.
Gorgeous.
It's the painted rocks at the Gunnison Canyon, the canyon of the Gunnison in Colorado, and it's the second largest canyon after the Grand Canyon in the U.S. When I went there one day, my son Dusty, Colorado, took me, and little grandson and my husband went out there to. Well, by the way, Jim is an amazing artist too, so the two of us really click very, very well. But we went out there, we're such nature lovers, and we saw this wonderful vista. I mean, it's, you're at the Grand Canyon or the Canyon of the Gunnison. It's far superior, extends way beyond this, out of your scope. When I paint, whatever medium, whether it's, I don't paint oils anymore because I have allergies, the chemicals, but watercolor or acrylic. When I paint on location and plein air, everything fills me with not only my spirit, but just the heat of the day, the sun, the light, reflection, atmospheric perspective, the colors that I'm seeing, whatever time of day it is, feeling the senses surround me. And I believe that those are captured in my paintings because people come to me and say, I feel like I was just there. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, I was. So that's a thrill when that can happen.
Yeah, very, very realistic. And you can feel like you could be almost in that painting. Yeah, that's terrific. So your grandma was very influential with you.
Yes, she was my first mentor. That's right. Say, which I was little. I was maybe 10, 12 or so. But as I got older, and certainly when I went to college, my parents wanted me to go to an art school, like Parsons School of Design in New York. And I'm not a city kid. I went there. I went to Red Book to see how they do their work. And it wasn't for me. But I ended up going to Parsons College in Iowa, which is as country as you can get. But I got to live a different life and see what it's like in the country with really good, kind folks out there. Married, had my oldest daughter in Fairfield. My ex-husband at the time went up to got a job in upstate New York, where we raised my daughter and two more sons in Rochester, New York area. I got involved in transitioned. I went back to school again to get my degree in art with associate degree from Finger Lakes College. And that was graphic design, illustration, fine arts, which gave me another foundation. And then from there, I went on to taking instruction, I guess you could call it, but I went to watercolor workshops with really top illustrated watercolor professionals. And there, in those, I learned about, this isn't just going to college, going to school, anything institutional. It was more in the field, observing, participating, and getting critiques by master painters. similar to how artists used to learn when they went to Paris, right? Studying with the masters. And that's how it felt at the time. So I did have that. It was a wonderful education for me to study that way. Then I got, I had been producing and be part of, oh, I know, I'm sorry. I was brought on to a children's show in Rochester to
Children's show?
it was Ranger Bob's Buckaroo Club. It's a kid show.
Ranger Bob.
Ranger Bob.
Yeah.
It was, he's a great comic. It was so much fun to be part of that. But I was really hired on to illustrate the kids' newsletter for the show. But as it progressed, I became a character on. He said, "Can you come on the show and teach kids how to paint?" Well, the thing is, I am a character. So being as it's a fun show, I dressed with ponytails like this, and I was Dexy Doodler. And I'd go in and I'd doodle. I had all circles and squares for the candies. That was when I was in my 40s. From there, I was like joining the circus. And because I was part of something that was just so different than my life. My kids were all they were just finishing up school. And I had gotten hired on to the writer-director of Come Fly, Come Ski, which included some Olympian and World Cup champions. And I was hired on as the co-host, and writer-producer of It's Time to Take Off travel series, where we went all over New York State, parts of the U.S., and into Canada. And we were on CBS, 30 cable networks in Canada, and eventually on the Travel Channel. So that was a great experience. Got me around to meet these wonderful people, went to these exciting places, which I could tell story after story, but I won't this time. We don't have that much time. But then they led me to going to, because it's all, again, chapters, it led me down to working in Orlando, Florida, which is where I'm based now. At that time, I was part of a team that was producing a children's series. Well, the funding for that didn't get picked up, but I also was in process of producing a couple of other shows for Nickelodeon and Disney Channel. But then, again, life changed. And they say that when you want to produce TV series, shows, movies, you got to be in LA. You got to be there. That's where everything is. New York too, but LA is where I was destined to bound. So I packed everything up, and I left to travel cross country. It took me about 5 days to drive on my own. Now, you understand, little Janny was not one to drive on her own, but I got at that time, they didn't have cell phones like they do today. They had the brick that was a cell phone, but I got had that right, my trusty cell phone. I went to went to AAA, and I got a map, and I made my quest across the I-10 all the way to LA. And as soon as I got to Venice Beach, I parked and took off my shoes and went to stand out to the Pacific, and I said, "Hello, Pacific, here I am." And it was a great change in my life. But also, here's what saved my life. I was in intense pain that whole trip. After the moving in delivered, and I got an apartment and settled in, literally a few days later, I was in intense pain. So I called a doctor. Someone recommended. At first, they said, "Well, you're a new patient, so we can't see you for about a month or so." Well, I said, I found out where the office was, and I went there. I was in such pain. I just moved. I have to be seen. I'm in severe pain. Turned out the doctor was extremely kind. He was wonderful. Put me immediately that next week into the hospital and had my first surgery. He thought, it was, he did ultrasound and discovered it was a tumor that they thought was benign. So after he came out of surgery, and without the gory details, I'll just tell you that they discovered that I had at the time, sometimes get lots with this, little PTSD. So please bear with me with my story. But I had, after the 2 surgeries, I had intense radiation. Now, I understand I was there in LA on my own, but yet It saved my life to move there because I had been misdiagnosed when I was in Orlando. It truly is the city of angels. There were people that came to my rescue. The VP of Spelling Entertainment, who I met through other, with different kinds of pitching shows and series. She came to visit me in the hospital and said, "Jan, you're coming home with me for a week to recover." Other people drove me to the hospital when I needed to. It was an amazing, intense, somewhat painful experience. But I always felt that I was never really alone. I always felt that God was always with me. No matter where, I always felt His presence. I'm not sure I want to go into this too deeply, but one of my surgeries, during surgery, I did actually go into the light. I did actually see my body, and I didn't tell you this, Gail, before, but actually did hover over, and I saw myself, and I only went to heaven. It was an amazing experience. And I wanted to stay. I felt so much love, so many souls around me, but someone told me, an angel said, "No, you're not ready yet." And this is back in 1997, 27 years ago. You have a long life to live yet. You have some really important things to do in your life. So with that, when I got back and eventually, I did go on someone's encouragement to go to Healing Odyssey for Women, Cancer Survivors, which was an amazing organization. It was not just about a group session, because I really wasn't up for that. It was more about it's a camp. We actually stay in the camp in cabins, and you have a big lodge where everybody eats their main meals, but you have sessions. But I felt like my whole everything was torn apart. And other survivors have known that feeling, because you don't, where did I go? I lost me. I couldn't put anything together anymore. I didn't have a sense of self. And going to Healing Odyssey helped me with that. They asked we did ropes courses and so forth, but they asked one of the things to do was